Welcome, Internet, to the Pixel Play Podcast, your weekly podcast where we get together to discuss all the news, rumors, and discussions going on in the video game world. I am one of your co-hosts, Kaylan, aka Ktastrophy, joined as always by my co-host, Adam, CSRadical. If you want to check out our episodes, you can always find us wherever you get your podcast by searching for Pixel Play Podcast or searching for us on YouTube. And we are also on all the socials, including Instagram and Twitter. You can find us there. And if you want to join our Discord, we have one of those too. Details are in the link. Adam, it's a pretty quiet week this week, so I think we're going to be doing another one of our Pressing Pause episodes. If you're not familiar with Pressing Pause episodes, we kind of take a break from the gaming news and all that stuff, and we just kind of talk about random evergreen topics. And so if you're not interested in that, we'll see you guys next week, but we hope you stick around because these are always fun little discussions. In this week, we're going to be talking about how our tastes and our choices in games have changed as we've gotten older. We're growing up so fast. We're going to be talking about what video game characters we are based on this fun little personality quiz that we found. It's going to have another round of Trophy Stumpers, and Adam is coming to us with another Untimely review. All right, Adam, let's just press pause and get into it.
Wait. Press pause. Are you telling me that with the sheer amount of stories that are out there, like Tencent having to do some new app things because trying to suspend them? Okay, fine. There's nothing there.
Yeah, it's crickets in the news feeds.
13 Sentinels Aegis Rim coming to Switch. That's a big story.
What?
Some guy left BioWare. Oh, that's pretty normal. Okay, never mind. That's not news. Okay. I tried. There's no stories. I can't do anything.
Adam, we need to stop reporting the news and start making the news. That's what we need to do.
That sounds like probably a bad thing for us.
Yeah, I don't even know how we'd go about starting that.
I know they say no PR or any PR is good PR, but I feel like the kind of PR we'd have to get to be news in the games industry right now. Yeah, no, I think at least one of us would have to go to jail for that.
I'm too pretty for jail, sir. But Adam, yeah, no, it'd just be nice to have some PR for once. It's, we're a small podcast, a little bit of PR wouldn't hurt us. So we'll have to talk about this after the show and figure out what we're gonna do.
Yeah, the world takeover is still kind of in production. We're kind of still pre-planning that,
Speaking of the world takeover, I thought I'd give everyone listening another update on Jenny Bezos, my wife in Skyrim. So the count as of today is she had to upgrade some armor, and so she's currently sitting on a cool $16,000 in Skyrim, and she is level 16 or something like that. So she is doing fine, ladies and gentlemen. But I've come to realize not only is she just destroying the economy, but she is ruining the fabric of society of Skyrim. So as you know, my wife has started playing Dungeons and Dragons. She's loving it. She's in deep. It's bad, guys. I'm gonna have to. We're starting to plan an intervention, but we just got to figure out the cold cuts for the table and stuff. But if you don't know, she's going around and she is basically picking up anything that is not nailed down and selling it back to stores, regardless if they want it or not. And last I left you guys off, she had left basically all the stores with zero money. And so we thought that this would be the end of her capitalistic empire, but not so, my friends, because we've discovered that somehow every morning after the stores have been cleared out, the next day they always have more money. Now, this raises the question, how do they have all that money? Because they're closed. Nobody's buying anything from them. They're not generating any revenue. So I've come to the conclusion that she is now making store owners and anyone who wants to basically feed their families, they're now turning to criminal elements. They're running, illegal gambling dens in their stores. They're, doing, crime at night. They're working the streets. I don't know what they're doing, but they're getting this money somehow, and it's not from general, commerce, which is what they typically do, because she has ruined the economy. It's terrible, folks.
I'm going to assume that there's a really elaborate counterfeit coin organization going on in each of these stores that is a chain business that goes from town to town.
Yeah. Or the people of Skyrim have just developed blockchains, and that's how the currency's working now.
I mean, either that or the Skyrim Illuminati is working.
Yeah. But yeah, she's destroying the economy and now ruining lives and turning people towards nefarious means of existence.
Well, I mean, it's either that or you're just, arching people in the knee with arrows. I don't know what else you're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, either way, they're both being crippled, so it's really unfortunate.
In
I'm
fact,
terribly
what
sorry.
she's doing is probably worse. She might as well just kill him at that point, right?
I mean, it's only a matter of time before they can no longer, fulfill what, her commerce, and then it's just gonna be she's gonna start stealing what they want because, but she needs him. No, she's not gonna kill him because she needs him. That's her. That is she is like a vampire. She just sucks them dry and then just leaves a little bit left, so that way there's more when she comes back the next day.
I feel like there's going to be a real uprising someday.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think there's gonna be some DLC where it's just gonna be everyone just revolts and like everyone just returns back. She's basically gonna inspire communism within Skyrim. There's gonna be an uprising, like a revolt, and yeah. I'm really sorry what I did to the people of Skyrim. I feel bad now.
I don't.
I mean, they thought that the dragons were the biggest issue, but to be honest, she turned out to be the biggest dragon. Adam, enough about Jenny Bezos of Skyrim. Let's talk about just some random topics. And you were kind of bringing this up this week. You wanted to kind of talk about we are becoming old men. We are no longer cool, young 20-somethings. We are now 30-somethings, and we're old. And you want to talk about how that has changed as a gamer. Did you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, the question is obvious. I mean, I'm assuming both of us have been playing since we were little.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about that.
I can't imagine that over almost 30 years of gaming now that we suddenly just, stuck to one kind of game and that's all we ever played. So I was curious between the two of us, like how we've kind of evolved through the different kind of games that we've played over time. Whether that means genres, that means like series altogether. Like, obviously, there could have been something you're really big into when you were a kid, and now looking forward, you're like, wow, that series was terrible. Why did I even touch that? I'm sure there's a lot of those things that are out there that you're like, man, I don't miss that at all.
Yeah, no, there's definitely the case. I think, I guess I'll kind of go first. For me, there's been a lot of changes, I guess. Initially, I was like, oh, no, my tastes haven't really changed that much, but they really have. And maybe not so much the taste of games that I'm playing, but how I play them. Being a young kid, you're broken, kind of dependent on the good graces of, Christmas and birthdays or whatever you could borrow from your friends, and the odd game that you can kind of scrape together and buy here and there. And so for me, one of the things that changed a lot for me as I got older, now when I play games, I'm doing it as and it's going to sound terrible to say, and I don't mean it this way, but it's going to be done like a check mark. I'm constantly moving on to the next thing. So I beat a game. I do like the main story. Very rarely do I go beyond and do like the side quests and all that stuff. But I'll go in, do the main story, do a couple collectibles, do a couple fun things, and then I move on to the next game. Whereas when I was a kid, not having a huge library and constant influx of games, one thing that I was doing is I would constantly play the same games over and over and over. And I think that's something that a lot of us did. But you'd also kind of make new games and new ways of playing. Like my sister and I, we would play a game and like we'd put challenges of what to do, or replaying levels or stuff. Like I remember playing the same games over and over, trying to do different things, or trying to seeing what I could do, like really going deep diving and exploring a game. And that's something I don't do as much anymore.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, and hence why I even made a gameplay video of it one time for the channel of me speedrunning Sonic 3. It's like, it gets to the point where you've played the game enough times that you're like, all right, you got to set some sort of a challenge. So eventually with Sonic 3, for example, it has save points. Like it saves the chapters, but I said, no, I want to beat the game without ever having to start from a checkpoint. I don't want to have to boot back in at level 6. I want to boot back in at the very beginning and work my way in and be good enough to do it. And, sometimes that'll work, sometimes it doesn't, but it didn't matter to me. Like, I was just, trying to see how good I could get at it. And that's also because, like you said, I probably had anywhere between like 5 to 10 games to pick from, and not all of them were great. So there were some of them, even as a kid, when you would kind of force yourself to like most things, there were even a couple of games that you went, I don't need to touch you every day. Like, I had Wario's Woods, but I didn't feel like playing a really bad version of Tetris over and over again when I could be playing anything else. So, like, otherwise, when it comes to just my overall evolution, I mean, holy crap. Far have I gone over the last, like, I guess 25 years ish? I mean, the simplest thing is not counting my childhood because it's really whatever was bought for you. You didn't really get too much of a choice in it. Apart from like being a big pro wrestling guy and playing like WWF No Mercy on like N64 and creating all these wacky characters and doing story mode and stuff like that. It wasn't until I would say like when GoldenEye and Perfect Dark became big and Smash became big, and that's when I started getting into more multiplayer related stuff because being in a very small like village town, you didn't have a lot of people over all the time, so I didn't get that opportunity. Then I moved to a much bigger town, started having friends nearby, and that's when you started seeing the GoldenEye and Smash Brothers, and then Halo when the Xbox came out. You started getting like all the Link parties and everything else, and that kind of stuck for a while. Where I'd be playing like your Call of Duties online, you're playing Battlefield, playing NHL, playing like them upgrades to like Destiny. And in between like bits and here and there, there'd be the single player games. There'd be your Final Fantasies, your Mass Effects, your Dragon Ages, like all those would be in there. But the focus tended to be a multiplayer. And now here I am in my near mid 30s going, playing games online sucks because people are horrible. It's not fun to lose constantly because most people play a lot more than we ever have time for. And why get angry at something when you're only going to spend a couple of hours a day on it? So I started getting into the habit of just sticking to A, single player games, and B, single player games that usually aren't nearly as depressing. Last of Us Part 2, for example.
See, I think one of the things,
taking a shot. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, it's fine. One of the things that you mentioned I think is interesting is talking about that multiplayer aspect. And I remember when I was in like elementary school, high school, and university, multiplayer was a huge thing. Like I remember playing Halo. I remember playing Halo 2. I remember playing GoldenEye, like all those sort of multiplayer games, like even Call of Duties, like the first ones. I remember playing those online and it was great. Even I played like Command and Conquer and Age of Empires online, and that was fun. And I think there was something different, something that has definitely changed. And it's not necessarily us in us becoming older and not having the time to like get good at the game, but I think it's also multiplayer has changed. And one of the things that I think is different now is that when you have multiplayer games now, it's about ranking up and getting new bonuses and getting new equipment and getting perks, getting stats, all that kind of stuff. Whereas, when you had something like GoldenEye or Halo 1, Halo 2, everyone started fresh. And so the only thing that distinguished you from any other player was really skill level. But there was nothing in terms of like, oh, this person has unlocked these perks and these things. Like everyone was sort of on a level playing ground when they started. And it was whatever you could get in that arena that really kind of differentiated you. And I think that's one of the things is that you're now not coming in with a standard, outfit or rig. You're coming in with everyone having sort of different levels and stacks. And for me, that's when I kind of moved out of multiplayer, when it became sort of a different perks and different stats and different experiences and bonuses and equipment and all that.
I think a big part of it too is obviously playing with people you don't know. Because a big part, even though, like, depending on where you, I don't know if you have those kind of places, but like there was a place not too far from where I live where they'd have, a little console set up with a big TV or a projected screen or something, and people would go to the game store all the time, and somebody would boot up a thing of Soul Calibur 2, for example, and people would just kind of walk in and people would play each other, don't even know the people there, but they're physically in front of you. Mm-hmm. So there's a sense of cordialness because you're trying not to be a douchebag and get thrown out of the store that you like, because it's the only store that does this. So there was that bit of like camaraderie, that companionship, whereas like now you play some random guy online, you have no reason to be nice to them. So of course you get all these people that figure, well, there's no consequence to me being a douche, so I'll just go and be a complete tool to everybody, because why not? Not to mention, we do live in an age where internet rage is that's the hot ticket now. You got to be angry all the time. You got to be over the top emotional. So it kind of brought like the worst out of us, and I think it kind of took away some of the reasons why we enjoyed multiplayer as much. Then on the flip side too, being older, a lot of your older friends are either moved away or you're not keeping in touch anymore. So it just doesn't feel the same either because you don't have those many years of companionship either. So there's all those little things alongside of it too.
Yeah, no, I could totally confirm, like, me, being married, having a job, having a kid, having a house, like, yeah, it takes a lot of, like, I don't have a lot of time to dedicate towards a single game that I want to play. And so, like, and the moments I have, like, it's never guaranteed that, like, the time I have is my time. Like, I could be interrupted at any moment in terms of, something needing to be done, or the kid needing me or something like that. And so it's hard for me to commit to that time of, like, hey, we're meeting online at this time to play. I play when I can and I play as long as I can, but that's all up in the air at any given time. And so for me to get that many people together to play an online game, it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, I still have my small pockets. Like, I have a couple of friends that I personally know that will play usually once a week. I do have a bunch of friends that I've been friends with for, I want to say, like, anywhere between 5 to 7 years on PlayStation. And we still will constantly, like, come together especially when something else big comes up and we all get it. We'll end up doing that for a while. So there is still that bit of camaraderie there, but it seems like now it's just so much easier to just kind of sit down and play a game on your own where you dictate the pace, you dictate the time, and if it's frustrating, you can put it down at any moment. There's no like expectation to it or anything. It's just when you're done, you're done. Doesn't matter where you are, how far you're in. It just be done with it and it's good to go.
Yeah, I find as well, like, being an older gamer now, like, there's a lot less patience for repetition, and time wasting. And so, like, for me, one of the things that kind of dissuades me from, playing multiplayer games, or even like some games that I see, like, I don't want to do that thing where it's doing the same thing over and over and over again. And just having, like, pointless tasks or things to do. Like, I don't know, I feel like I need my games kind of focused, or, like, moving towards something. Um, yeah. And I find, like, that's one of the things, like, I look at multiplayer and it's like, I know people who play it and it's like, that's awesome. And I've always, like, wanted to get into it, but it's just that, like, I have a bunch of games and there's more games coming down the pipe. And I'm not saying it feels like a chore or feels like a responsibility, but, like, I'm compelled that I want to keep playing new games and new games. And I can't relate to that idea of, hey, I'm going to sink hundreds of hours. Like, Call of Duty is going to be my game and I'm going to play Call of Duty until the next one comes out. If that's your jam, like, cool, I totally get it. And, like, I think that's awesome, but it's just not something that appeals to me to become an expert in one particular game. Like, I want to try them all.
Yeah.
Except JRPGs.
See, I was about to ask, like, what's the one thing that's been consistent? Because JRPGs for me has been the one thing that's always been consistent to varying degrees. Like, I grew up with, like, Phantasy Star 4 on Sega Genesis, and then Final Fantasy 2 and 3 at the time, but would have been 4 and 6 because Japan, just apparently didn't like giving us things because we were too stupid. But, like, yeah. I played those a bunch, and then PS2 era, that's, like, all I did. Any JRPG that I could find, I'd get my hands on and play, like Shadow Hearts, Suikoden, Final Fantasy, Radiata Stories. Like, you can go all the way off the board with stuff, and there'd be some shit ones in there too. There are some really bad ones in there, but, like, that was the big thing. And then it kind of took a bit of a break, like, mostly because I had a 360, and JRPGs on the 360 were pretty scarce. Like, yeah. Most of what you got was, like, Last Remnant and Lost Odyssey and Final Fantasy 13, which was horrible. But Mass Effect took the place of that, so Western RPGs kind of took over for a while. That's when you had that, and Witcher, and Dragon Age, and all these other things to kind of take the edge off. Deus Ex. So there were plenty of other options before that. And then PS4 happened, and I'm like, oh, these are all the things that I remember liking, and it's right back to where it was again. So I was wondering, so in your case, is there, like, that one thing that's never truly gone away since you were little?
I mean, it's always kind of changed, but I guess for me, it's always been that I've been a, like, action adventure kind of person. And granted, they didn't have a lot of those on the early consoles, but, like, I always liked things like I started off doing, like, the side scrolling platform kind of thing, which I feel like then evolved into the N64, into those, mascot kind of Nintendo, like Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, like those kind of games. And then once, I got into PC and Xbox and that kind of stuff, I was playing things like Hitman, Splinter Cell, I was playing like Mercenaries. Like I was doing all those like third person action adventure. Also had a tendency towards like stealth games. I like those as well. And that's kind of continued on all throughout. And I think that's why PlayStation kind of I gravitate towards PlayStation, is that notion of third person action adventure really speaks to me and what my interests are. Yeah. In terms of you, like now in terms of selection, like have you found that your taste in game or how you choose games has changed?
In a way, yes, but it's not because of like taste so much as it's overall pessimism.
Okay.
Like in the advent that like now it's a lot harder to sell me on a game that's in its like 13th edition. Like selling me on a Call of Duty game is near impossible now. Selling me on a Battlefield is near impossible now. But if you come up with something and be like, hey, there is a game, and I can't remember the title of it, and I, for the life of me, never ended up playing it. But I remember seeing a trailer, and it was like a Call of Duty first-person shooter kind of game, but in space, like you floating around in space, like in space suits in outer space. And I went, see, that has my attention. Or something like, say, Splitgate, the guys who made something very close to what Halo is, but it's just Halo with portals. That kind of stuff at least gets my attention now. So, like, even JRPGs, Final Fantasy doesn't necessarily trigger me anymore. It doesn't suddenly make me go, oh my god, I need it. You know, if 16 comes out and is decent, maybe I'll take a look at it. But at this point, it can't really do much to make me go, oh, I need this. So now it takes a JRPG that does something a little bit different, whether it's how it's mechanically, done in terms of its battle system. Maybe there's this weird gimmick on the side of it. Like Persona was big for that, where it almost has this like slice of life, like school simulator attached to it, also being a really good JRPG at the same time. Or maybe it's something funky, like maybe it's an outer space one, or maybe it's a Wild West one. Like the setting could also change it. It really depends. Like if it's in a format that I already like, and it's either visually different, mechanically different, or in the way that it tells its story. Like if it does a concept that is very, very new or very like uncommon to see. Like most, you just figure, oh, you're the hero, you're the chosen one, here's the big baddie, go chase it. Like that doesn't do anything anymore. But if you have a story of like, I mean, it's overdone in anime now, but if you're transported into a fantasy world, even though you're a real life person, like in video game form, that's still relatively uncommon. So stuff like that would get my attention. But I mean, like big example, I don't care about Far Cry 6. I don't care what the setting is. It's not enough to make me completely different about it. I don't care what actors you put into it unless it's like one of a very, very small list of people. So, and unfortunately, I haven't watched Breaking Bad, so that actor doesn't.
You have not
swing.
watched Breaking Bad?
There's a lot. You could name like almost like the 50 biggest shows in the last 20 years, and I could probably tell you no to almost every single one of them.
Dude, you need to watch Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is so good. I would argue Breaking Bad is probably the best show of all time.
The problem that I always have is, and it goes with like say Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, and all those other shows too, it's that they got so overhyped over the course of its running that anytime I pick one of these up and try it, I feel so underwhelmed because I'm like, really? This is what you guys won't shut up about? So there is a bit of that like overhyping value to stuff. Also, to be completely honest, most shows now, like it really takes something real special to grab my attention anymore, because when I know I have to put that much time into it, you really got to catch me early, because like even in anime, it's the same thing. Like if somebody tells me about this really cool show and they tell me it's like 80 plus episodes now and it's still going, I'm like, I can't guarantee I'm going to have enough time to watch all that. Because there's always that too. There's, like you said, there's a lot of games on my list that I still got to do. There's a lot of shows I still want to watch at some point. So like there's all that time. And if you're told, oh yeah, go watch this thing, it's only 8 seasons, I'm like, I ain't got time for 8 seasons. I barely have time for 2.
No, honestly, like Breaking Bad, I feel is the show that the quality doesn't dip and it starts off strong and it sticks the landing. Like I would have argued at one point that Game of Thrones was slated to be the best show of all time, but we know how the ending went. But I feel Breaking Bad consistent the entire time. Now I watched the last season. Like I can see like there's some episodes they don't all land, but consistently as a whole, it's a fantastic show that does, it's good the whole way through. And especially I feel like that's a show that benefits a lot from streaming versus watching it episode to episode, because it has this tendency of ending on a hook. And if you were watching it week by week, you would be sitting there like, oh, what's happening? Honestly, my wife and I, we were watching the first, I think 3 or 4 seasons at later. And so it was great for us to stream, and we would watch like 2 or 3 episodes at a time because it is just so enthralling. So you definitely need to check out, Breaking Bad.
It's funny though, because like I can't imagine anybody watching things episodically anymore. Because like right now, Hawkeye just started for all the Marvel fans out there, and I got friends that are going nuts. They're like, "Oh, 2 episodes are up. Let's do it." I'm like, "Why? Just wait for the whole thing. It's like 6 episodes. Just wait. It's not that long." The Expanse, like one of my favorite shows of all time now. It's about to start its final season on the 10th, but it's episodic. So I guess I'm waiting till like end of February when it's all done, so I can just hammer it all out. You know, I can never understand the episodic thing anymore, because it's like, even with video games, the only reason that I played the Final Fantasy VII Remake is because I know the entire game, so I know if I play it episodically, it's fine. Because I know mostly what's coming, although I guess to be fair with the remake, maybe it won't be the exact same anymore, but even with shows, it's like, man, especially like the Marvel ones are the biggest ones. Like I have friends that are always episodic on that stuff, and I'm thinking, man, you just gotta wait like a month and a half, it's all done, and it's you take the day off and you can watch the whole show and it's done. Like instead of having to sit there for 7 days waiting for it again. I'm like, I can't stand that stuff anymore.
I hear you. For me, I think what it is like I don't mind the whole franchise thing. I don't have franchise fatigue in terms of sequels. For me, I am becoming a lot pickier in terms of the games I play, and it needs to have a reason for me to play it. When I was younger, like sure, whatever. I would take a chance on games, and I played some real stinkers, and I played some games that like bargain bin whatever. Like I remember playing Warhammer, what the hell was it called, Warhammer whatever, on the PS3, and like it's not anything incredible. It's not something that like would blow, like no one's talking about it anymore, but it was fun and I played it because I had time and it was a decent game. Now that I have far less time to play, like I need to be playing stuff that is top tier, high production. Like I'm very rarely playing, like I gotta say bad games, but games that like I'm not playing mediocre, and that's mediocre in my terms. Like I don't have time for like that middle ground game, if you know what I'm talking about. Like I like
yeah,
that
like
high
if I'm
production.
floating around on Game Pass and I'll try a bunch of stuff, and if I'm not caught within, like for example, there's a game called Before We Leave that I tried out recently, and it seemed like one of those like strategy, like civilization level kind of games, and I popped it in, and within 5 minutes I went, I don't see myself liking this, and I just cut it out. Like now it's at the point that it's like, man, I don't have to.
Yeah.
And even better, like again, going, because we say it so many times, but like Game Pass makes it really easy too, because you're not paying extra for it, so you can try these things. And that is the beauty of it too, in the way that games are now, is that you can try some different stuff and not feel necessarily like, you have to make it work because you spent $70 on it, and this is your hard-earned money. This is like a good chunk of your allowance or paycheck, whatever it is, at what age you are. Now it's just like I can find 10,000 other things that I can do, and it makes you a lot more critical too. And I think that's probably where we're both at too. We're now, because of A, the amount of choices we have, and B, how easy it is to get most of them. Now you can just be like, you know what? I don't have to do this. There are like a million other options I can try. So screw it. Let's do that.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like, so for me, that comes back to the other thing is the time wasting. Like, I look at games, and even Skyrim is like pushing the limits. Like, at least like that game is one that like has a high budget level, at least at the time. But it is huge, and it's a very daunting task. That like I look at games where they're like there is like hundreds of hours of gameplay. I'm like, that doesn't appeal to me like the way it used to. Like when I was a kid, yeah, you got 100 hours of gameplay, great.
And also, what is hundreds of hours of gameplay? Is it actually like engaging gameplay, or is it walking and walking and walking and oh look, there's an enemy, shoot them, back to walking? Like,
not even that. Like I just say like the repetitive nature. Like I look at something like a Far Cry, and I know Far Cry is not the great example, but it's very repetitive gameplay that you've played 5-10 hours, you've seen the game. And I think I was talking about a game a little while ago that I played, and like, you've seen the first 5 hours, you've seen the whole game, and that's something where
Well,
it's
that's the
like,
thing
I don't
too.
want
Like,
the repetitive nature.
is that hundreds of hours like consistently fun gameplay, or is it copy and paste a gameplay, or is it not technically gameplay if it's you like traveling in these open worlds like say Assassin's Creed games are right now? Like, what defines gameplay? In some of these cases, it's really not. It's more like a game that takes you 90 hours to beat. You've probably like were really engaged for maybe a third of that.
Yeah. No, it's I think for me, being an older gamer, like, I am not looking to fill time in the way I was as a kid. I before I was looking to fill time with games in the sense that I'd play whatever's available whenever's available, and time was the least valuable thing that I had. And I feel now that I'm older, time is the most valuable thing that I have. And so for me, I've become a lot more appreciative and a lot more discerning about what games get my time.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Makes total sense. I mean, you know, especially in your case, like I'm living alone right now, even though I'm in a relationship, but I live alone. So
sorry, ladies.
It's pretty it's pretty easy for me to find time whenever I have it. In your case, it's a lot harder because you have a wife, you have a son, so there's a little bit more going on that might keep you from just popping in for 12 hours straight of the same game over and over. So
Until I can get my son into games, and then suddenly I am now spending time with him playing video games.
Well, yeah, but it might not be playing games you want. You might be forced to buy the Peppa Pig game or something.
Dude, we bought on Black Friday. We bought Hot Wheels Unleashed.
I want that so bad too,
dude. It was like $30 this week at EB Games, and so I got it because my son is obsessed with Hot Wheels. Man, you should have seen him lose his mind today. He was like at home with a cold, or like not a cold, but he was just at home with us, and yeah, I turned it on, and he was like going and grabbing all his Hot Wheels. He was loving it, just watching me play. So
well, it's the beauty too that like we're getting to the point now that there are games out there that can appeal to both adults and children. It isn't just like Barney's hide and seek versus Doom. We're not at that anymore.
Doom's not a family game.
I mean, if you're religious, I mean, it's anti-Satan, so I guess it could be a family game.
That's true. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, games are starting to get to the appeal. Like, I've played a couple games with like my son around. Like, we've played like Astrobot, the Sly Cooper games. Like, all those like kind of cartoon animation ones are good too. So like, yeah, it's awesome. Like, yeah, so it's different. Adam, let's shift gears and do something a little bit more random. I sent you a link for personality quiz. I thought we can kind of go and do this together and kind of figure out which video game characters we are apparently. So I thought what we'd do is we'd go through together and kind of do the quiz together, kind of ask the questions and see what we get for our results. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are following along with us, we are doing What Video Game Character Are You?, which is through the website Brainfall. So if you want to play along, follow along, let us know what you guys got as your results. Adam, are you ready to go?
Give me 1 second. I'm seeing that I actually fit this on the screen here for us. So
you're gonna put
at least people can see what we're doing. So let's see if I can make this work. It's kind of in the ballpark of being where it needs to be. I don't know. Let's see. Can I move the window around and make it better? I should be careful though. This might really nope. I'll leave it alone. If I end up having to change it, we'll have to deal with it after. But I'm like, if I change this now, I'll have to completely script the YouTube feed. So let's not do that. But yeah, I'll work with this for now.
All right. I'll just read the questions to you for our audio listeners. So, how do you react in stressful situations? Take a moment to meditate and calm down. Keep your stress inside and keep going. Listen to music and escape the world. Let your emotions burst out. Adam,
I feel like I have multiple options on this because I keep it inside until it bursts out.
Yeah, I feel like I just contain my stress as a ball until it's too late.
Yeah, but it really is either that or letting it burst out, but that depends on the level of stress.
But that's 90%. 90% of it is me holding it in until it bursts out. So I think we're both on the same one there. All right. What interests you most of these choices? Computer engineering and mad science, photography and movie nights, reading and academics, martial arts and heists.
I mean, I can tell you which one it won't be. It ain't gonna be books.
I mean, when they say like what interests you the most from these choices, like martial arts and heists, like that's pretty interesting. But like, which one am I more likely to do?
Well, in terms of what
Like,
interests me the most, it's honestly like photography and movie nights would be for me.
see, I like them. Like, if I'm watching like like what interests me the most, like who has a natural interest in like, hey, my hobby are heists. I'm gonna go
Well,
martial arts.
I mean, it could just be based on like the kind of things like make you go, oh, yeah, I love a good movie that does that stuff.
Oh yeah, no. Then I think for me it's martial arts. Like I do martial arts, and then heist. Like who doesn't love a good heist?
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of GTA. Oh wait, that's not what we're talking about.
Technically, it's a heist.
But yeah,
What type of video games do you enjoy? Life simulations, FPS, or roguelikes? Puzzles, platformers, or RPGs?
well, I think we're both using the same one probably.
Platform RPGs.
Yep. Oh, I thought we were going puzzles. You're no, definitely not puzzles. I played The Witness. It didn't go well.
Yeah, I'm not very good with puzzles. And
although I will say,
like the idea
life
of roguelikes,
simulations are big. Like I when I get into Sims 4, I get heavy into Sims 4 for a while. If I take a break and go back into it, you don't see me for a month because that's all I'm doing again.
Okay, so I know where to go if we can't get a hold of you for the show.
Yeah, just go to whatever sim town that I've created and just find the guy completely surrounded by like just the weirdest looking people ever because I just make all these ridiculous fantasy characters and stuff.
We'll do the podcast live from The Sims.
I could probably pull that off if you gave me enough time.
You probably could do it. What do you consider the most important aspect of life? Helping those in needs, protecting your loved ones, innovation at any cost, or having choices? I want to say I'm a nice person. I'm going to go helping those in need.
The most important aspect of life, though, like, I gotta be selfish and be like having choice.
Yeah. I mean, that's like,
because the way that I'm going about it is my brain goes, okay, I can be helpful to everybody else, but like the aspect of life for me is like what's going on with me. And I mean, being able to have choices to do what I want to do is probably more important than anything else first. And then you can worry about the helping people afterwards.
You gotta put your own oxygen mask on, but first before you help others.
Exactly.
I'm still gonna stay with helping those in need. All right. Oh, Adam, here's one for you. What kind of books?
None of the above. No books.
Well, you have to pick one.
Legitimately, though, I cannot remember the last time I finished a book cover to cover. It might have been in high school when I used to be assigned them.
Really?
Because most of the information that I'll get is either through like talk radio, podcasting, things like that, or just reading articles. But like in terms of like sitting down and reading like a fictional book, it probably is high school because reading has never been my thing. I don't sit down well. Like it's like my imagination can run on its own. I don't need a book to do that for me. And at least with games, it's engaging and there's an actual like there's more to it than just sitting there and staring.
What about like an audiobook?
Usually only what's the word I'm looking for? Autobiographies I can do, but I can't even do like somebody reading like a fiction novel.
See, I love reading. I wish I had more time for it, but I don't. But I try and get through at least a couple books a year. And so, speaking of which, I just wrapped up reading Dune for the second time.
But I mean, if I was going to pick one, since I do more autobiographies than anything else nonfiction, would I guess be my choice?
Well, this is what I was going to ask. Is like, if you're not going to do book, like, what kind of movie do you appeal to? Sci-fi, fantasy, mystery, or like thing?
I mean, if it was going to be a movie, it'd be sci-fi. But the question is books, so I have to canon this, and it'd probably be more nonfiction than anything.
There you go. I am hardcore sci-fi. How do you treat others that you don't like?
What are the options that the people need to know?
Oh, my apologies. You're right. How do you treat others who you don't like? With a smile and mean internal dialogue, snarky comments, civilly minus the smile, with blatant malice disguised as kindness.
Oh, I am 100% a Deadpool with snarky comments. 100%. I'm not even kidding.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with blatant malice disguised as kindness.
Blatant
Adam,
malice.
how are you doing today?
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
How do you treat your friends? As semi-intelligent human beings, like family, with love, loyalty, but from a distance, with unwavering kindness and empathy.
As semi-intelligent human beings, I'm almost tempted to consider that as the option.
For me, mine is with love and loyalty, but from a distance.
I was
don't
about to
see my
say
friends
that's
as much.
probably the closest for me too.
I mean, it's tough right now with COVID. I think that's all of us.
Well,
right
even
now,
taking
but-
it literally, like I'm usually not the first person to instigate. I'm usually the one that kind of sits in the background and watches the wall of text in a Facebook chat group. Because eventually, like, unless there's like the one thing that I can go on, like, there are times where I just stare at a conversation and be like, I don't care about any of this. You guys have your fun.
Yeah, I love my friends and stuff, but yeah, I don't instigate events as much as I should and stuff. But still love them and care for them. Except the one that I just give kindness, but I'm blatantly, with malice.
That's me.
4 more questions. What do you think is your best trait? My devotion to the cause I believe in, my dedication to standing up for others, my ability to make the right decision even when it isn't the easiest choice, my intellect and superior brilliance.
Well then. Honestly, probably the making the right choice even when it's not the easy choice. That'd be the one that I'd probably lean in.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that one. Or
I mean, they're not giving me the right answer, which is my ridiculous knowledge of sports, pro wrestling, and anime, because those things mix well together.
It's weird that didn't come up.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of disappointing. I feel like this isn't made for me.
This is the thing I always have with like personality tests, because like I feel like all of those are like you're a good person, except my intellect and superior brilliance, because then you just come across like an egotistical jerk.
Yeah, it's basically being like, "Are you an asshole?" Like that's all these quizzes are.
Yeah,
they better give me a good game character by the end of this, because I'm a little sus on this now.
I'm gonna go intelligence, because I feel
super villain it. I dare you.
I hate saying it because like it makes you sound like you're a pretentious douche and you think like you're egotistical, and I'm not.
I mean, technically, the reason why I'm picking making the right choice, even though it isn't the easy choice, is because I'm a heartless piece of shit that will make the choice when he has to make the choice.
So sorry, we're gonna have to pull the plug. No, Adam, they're fine. You don't need to pull the plug.
It's like no, just do it.
It's just a fracture. They'll be fine.
Pull the plug.
I don't want to see them suffer. All right, what kind of music do you prefer to listen to? Classic rock or metal, indie or lo-fi, synthwave or techno, or classical or pop? Classical or pop? That's a weird combination.
It's a real tough one because metal would be my answer, but game lo-fi right now is like that is my life. Those are my chill beats. So it's tough, but metal would be where I'd lean.
I'm classic rock or metal. Right now, I'm listening to far too much Pearl Jam at work.
There is a website that I just recently came across that does a bunch of like heavy metal game t-shirts, and they have one that's Kefka from Final Fantasy VI done in the style of King Diamond, and my brain went, I need this nice. So bad. And there's so many more. I'm like, I'm gonna spend way too much money on the shop if I stare at it. I had to close that page down.
Yeah. All right, question 10. We got three more to go.
Probably
3 more to go. That's how numbers work. What is the most important factor in a partner to you? Dedication to their work, their intelligence or innovative mindset, how open and comforting they can be, how well they treat others.
I'm really disappointed that they didn't have the total douchebag option, which is their body. Between the 4 of them, I would probably, I don't know if partner is calling like significant other, if it means like somebody you work with. Because dedication to their work should not matter in a partner. Unless you're just gold digging, I guess.
Could be someone who's passionate about what they do. I don't know.
I'd say the openness would probably be the most important one for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm torn between that one or how they treat others.
Yeah.
I gotta go with treat others, just so we get some different results. Right now, what we're doing is we're getting the butterfly effect right now. What's your current and or favorite hobby? Kickboxing, martial arts, and exercising of some form. Reading, writing, studying new subjects, photography, composing music and filming, programming, building PCs, and gaming.
Yeah, you know that special thing going on right now, crow-bamming.
Grow-bamming is what I was gonna put. I think we're on a gaming podcast. I think I'm gonna have to go with gaming.
Really, you weren't gonna go with exercise?
Dude, I get like short of breath going up the stairs. I'm not exercising. It's not that bad, but yeah.
I recently did a new workout on the side, and my god, my legs are not happy. It's like you haven't played baseball in like 2 months. What the hell are you doing making us suddenly work all of a sudden? You can't do that without notice.
Yeah,
So for the last 3 days has been miserable.
Snowboarding season is coming, and I'm curious how that's going to go.
Probably not great.
No. All right, last question. Which cheers you up after a bad day? Laughing at fail compilation videos, hanging out with a close friend and listening to music, a walk through nature or curling up with a book, sleeping or eating a good meal.
These are all terrible, but sleep sounds like the best one.
Mine is going to have to be a walk through nature or curling up with a good book.
I mean, if I was actually choosing, it'd be listening to music, so I'll go with that.
All right, let's get the results.
Oh, is it going to make us do some random thing?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just going to click random.
Yeah.
I got mine.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Who'd you get?
Max Caulfield from Life is Strange.
Oh, interesting. You want to read the little description?
You are a creative individual who will travel a great distance for those you love. When faced with difficult decisions and situations, you may fumble and make mistakes, but in time you learn to accept them. Remember to capture the good times because life is strange and a mysterious journey. I imagine the photography is the only thing that put me in that direction.
Interesting. Do you feel that that's pretty accurate?
Hard to say. Yes and no, I guess.
All right. For me, my results was apparently my video game character is GLaDOS from Portal.
Oh, geez. So you're the real villain of the group.
Apparently. So the description there is you are witty with an interesting, sometimes questionable sense of humor. You can disguise your kindness with an annoyed demeanor or superiority complex, but at the end of the day, the ice on your circuitry melts and jolts you back into your human loving self.
So I think we're just going to start calling you Potato from now on.
Honestly, it's kind of sad. Like that kind of sounds a little bit accurate. More accurate than I perhaps wanted to be.
So would you say the quiz was a triumph?
This is a triumph. I'm making a note. Yeah, no, that was fun.
It was not a huge success. The quiz was a little suspect.
The quiz was a lie. Adam, do you want to? You said you have an Untimely review for us. Do you want to do that, and then we'll hop into Trophy Stumpers?
Sure. So I guess in terms of a great success, I played on the Xbox Game Pass Last Stop, which is a game made by Annapurna, or published by Annapurna Interactive, guys who are doing, like, say, Stray is one of the big games they're working on right now to publish. So but they do a whole lot of indie developed stuff. I'm currently looking for game footage that I can use to say, because there is a very, very little bit of this that I actually want to show you guys, because if I say too much about it, I feel like it ruins it. Because there are some really interesting things that happen throughout that game that I would rather people, like, don't even look trailers for it if you're interested in this game as I explain it. But so Last Stop is similar to what you would get from, like, your choose your own adventures, like a Life is Strange or any of the Telltale games like Walking Dead or stuff. But it's not chaptered. They're not going to do any bullshit where they suddenly sell you DLC. That doesn't happen. You're just playing one game, and it's 3 characters with overarching stories that intertwine later on throughout the game. The little that I will tell you in terms of the story is that these 3 people are living their own weird, like, double, like, something on the side is going on in their life that's just completely abnormal. And when I say abnormal, I mean abnormal, like not normal to anything we would expect in a basic daily life that we deal here in, I don't know, reality. There is definitely some sci-fi elements to stuff that comes out later.
You got it right there. People talking on a bus, like, that's pretty outside of, normal reality.
But, like, the 3 characters that you get, they all have their own little special quirk to them. I like that the game actually takes place in Britain, so you get a much different vocal cast than you would normally expect from a game. So it's all British actors. So you get it feels a little bit different than most games you would expect just from the accents alone. And the visual style also is a bit different from what you would normally see. It does feel like almost like a mix between, like, I guess like Bully era is similar, but like a much more cleaned up version of Bully.
Yeah, I'm looking at images right now, and you're not quite doing it justice by like the bully kind of thing, but I know what you mean.
Like it has sort of like the, it's not super realistic. It has a little bit of a cartoonish flair to it. But like it's
Yeah,
almost something you would expect to see on like a Disney like, kids show in terms of like a mix of like 3D and 2D.
it's almost like it almost looks like a Star Wars animated show, like a Star Wars Rebels or
Yeah,
something.
kind of. Yeah, a little bit like that. So, like in terms of the gameplay, there's nothing crazy about it. There's no like crazy quick time events or anything. Like they have these few moments where there's little gimmicks like, oh, you got to move the analog stick in a certain direction to pour yourself a cup of coffee, but it doesn't really do much. That's one of the few complaints I have about it, is that they try to do a little bit of semblance of gameplay in it, and they should have just left it alone. They should have just left it, walk where you want to go, and then just say what you want to say. And you're like the core of the game is just deciding what you say. That's really it. There's not really points where you're having to like run away from stuff, and if you don't do it in a certain time, you'll die or anything. The game is pretty bare bones in terms of like actual gameplay. It's the story that really sells it. And the story, as it starts, does catch you pretty early. Like, especially the story that I'm showing on screen, which is that of Donna, a high school girl. I believe it's high school that she's in. And her story to me is the most interesting because it's a lot more mysterious. You're trying to. I feel like that story in particular makes you do a lot more guessing of what's happening. So it does do a little bit better in that aspect. The other two are still good. They have one of them is much more about like infidelity and more mature adult themes, and then another one is much more like silly and comic. Like they all have their own little thing. There's one that's mysterious, one that's a little more realistic, and one that's a little more like whimsical and funny. So they do have their own little quirks to them. And then beyond that, once it all comes together, that's when it really picked up. Like I was telling my friends, once I got to a certain point where everybody starts coming together into one big story to end off the game, it went super, like the needle got turned up to 11, and the story just went like super crazy. I'm like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. And all of a sudden I was really into it, and then it just ended really quick. And I was like, man, that like it could have gone for like one more chapter or like another half an hour, or maybe a little bit more story, and they could have really fleshed out what they did it towards the end. But it ends so quickly, you don't really have a chance to really let it sink in. And like, I was super into it when it started, and I was still like pretty high when the game ended. And then now that I had a chance to think about it, I went, man, that was a really quick ending. You could have done so much with that. That was a really wasted potential. So like, all in all, like the game is completely sold on its storytelling. There's nothing else. Like the gameplay there's none. It's just walk and click button for what line of dialogue you want to select. The characters, for the most part, they're pretty good. The story was pretty engaging, and then the very end, they kind of fall apart at the end because they ended really quick, and then the like final decisions your characters have to make, some of them seem a little unfair, and then they don't feel nearly as rewarding by the end, so you kind of have a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth going towards the end. But for what it was, considering that this is like some really small indie developed game, like this was a pretty good proof of concept if that's what they were going for. But like, if I wanted them to improve it, you got games like Life is Strange or Heavy Rain or like any of the David Cage ones. Like you have games that have much more of a bit more gameplay or even Telltale stuff, or at least there's like quick time events, something to kind of, there's like actual stakes on the line if you don't do certain things in the right order, or if you make certain decisions, something bad might happen. I don't feel like anything I said playing the game changed anything directly towards the end. I think I was going to the same point no matter what. I don't think that like this person got, in trouble or this person got put in danger because of something I did. I think that was what the story was going to go the entire time. So I think mostly you're basically like changing the dialogue in the story. It's not even really a choose your own adventure so much as it's a choose your own, script. But it's all still going in the same direction by the end. It's still good for what it is, but like by the time that I had a moment to really take a critical eye to it, it's not anything that's like spectacular. It's pretty run-of-the-mill average, but it does something a little bit different. Like its story is a little different than what you'd expect to see. The fact that it's British also has a bit of a change up, so it's not just the same like boring monotone like Western voices that you expect. There's a little bit more of a charm to this in the voice acting, and they actually do a pretty decent job of it. But for the most part, it was going to be sold on its story, and for the most part, like it does a good job until the very end, where it kind of just it really just kind of takes the goodwill that it had and doesn't quite finish.
Fair enough. So overall, what would you kind of rank it in terms of, you know?
I'd say it's like a solid 6.57, like that range. Like it's perfectly serviceable, and especially because I didn't pay money for it. Like I just used it on Game Pass. It really doesn't make me feel any bad about paying money for it either. But like I said, it's definitely an interesting proof of concept, and if they could expand it more and maybe like actually do a little bit more with it, you know, you could definitely see something good, because the writing was pretty solid. The dialogue seemed pretty good, so I feel like it's a good foundation. It's just a matter of can they, you know, kind of make it a little more life, like full of life, I guess.
Fair enough. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for that. All right, let's move on to the last thing on the agenda for this week. That is the Trophy Stumper. So this is the newest segment that we have going on, where I give Adam 10 achievements of a game, and his goal is to guess that game within those 10 trophies. Adam, are you ready to go?
No, but I guess I have to.
It's your contractual obligation. All right. So the first achievement, actually here, let's see if I can find a ranking for that. Give me 2 seconds. See if I can tell you what kind of trophy it is.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Hey.
So the first one I will give you, and I'm just doing this as a from a PlayStation perspective. This is a silver trophy, solitary confinement.
Yeah, that's not going to give me any guesses.
Okay. This is a bronze trophy, just what the doctors ordered. So solitary confinement and just what the doctors ordered.
Yeah, no, I still got nothing yet.
Okay. Let's see if I can find this one. Filling up the space. This has been taking way too long.
I should say, "Who boy, all this dead air."
All right, forget that. Forget the trophy aspect. Rope a dope.
Rope a dope.
So solitary confinement, just what the doctors ordered. Rope a dope.
Yeah, I still got nothing.
Crocodile tears.
Ooh. Red Dead Redemption 2?
No, it's not Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead Redemption.
Free flow combo 20.
Free flow combo 20. Okay, that
so solitary confinement.
Wow, that really throws me for a loop now.
Just what the doctors ordered. Rope a dope. Crocodile tears and free flow combo 20.
Yeah, that really throws me off now. Huh. I still got nothing.
What are you thinking about right now? What are some of the what's your headspace at?
Well, now that you gave me a free flow combo 20, I'm like, that's now I'm trying to like narrow down what that could possibly be referenced to, but I still got nothing here.
Okay. World's Greatest Detective.
World's Greatest Detective. Okay, keep going.
Okay. Night Glider.
Night Glider. Would this be which could it be? Batman Arkham City or Arkham Asylum?
You want me to go over the clues again?
I mean, is there a reason why you're doing it?
Solitary confinement. Just what the doctors ordered. Rope a dope. Crocodile tears. Free flow combo 20. World's Greatest Detective. Night Glider.
I feel like it's a Batman game.
Okay.
It's a matter of which one.
Okay. Crack the Enigma.
Okay.
Baneful Playback.
Okay.
Or sorry, Baneful Payback.
So we've narrowed down that it's Batman.
Mm-hmm. Now, which one is it? Want the clues again?
Just because of solitary confinement now, I'm gonna go with Arkham Asylum as my final answer.
It is Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
Sir. You're 2 for 2 right now. Yeah, I was trying to go through it and I was like, okay, because I don't want to I could put like the last clue was poisoned ivy, which is yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the trouble that I was having is I'm thinking I never played Arkham Asylum. I never actually played that one. I played City. I've played Night.
Mm-hmm.
But I never played Asylum. But so I'm sitting there being like, okay, I'm trying to think in my head, do I remember who was even in Asylum? Because the little that I've seen of it. And I'm like, was Killer Croc in Asylum? Because I know he had a cameo in City.
Well, that's why I started with that confinement and doctor's order, that sort of asylum kind of aspect. So yeah, there's always a rhyme and reason for.
So I imagine the doctor's orders had something to do with Harley then.
Just what the doctor's orders is actually save all the doctors in medical.
Oh, so it was an actual mission. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the free flow combo was designed to kind of get you for getting the gameplay sort of thing. Same with Rope-a-Dope. Yeah.
Yeah, once you did the world's greatest detective, I'm like, okay, we have a combo and a detective thing. Well, there's very few games that could qualify for that, and that's where I started turning. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick games for you. I'm trying to pick the trophies that kind of do make sense.
Well, that's because you could just throw out some random ass game, and I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna have a clue. You gotta give me some sort of shot at it. Although one of these days you're gonna throw a Last of Us set at me, and I'm gonna be like, this sounds like a shitty game.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode of Pressing Pause. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking with us. If this is your first time listening to us, thank you so much. We hope it was good for you. It was certainly good for us. If you're one of our regulars, we certainly appreciate you guys being around and supporting us. We see you guys in the Discords. We see you guys, in the metrics of listeners. So we truly appreciate that. If you want to be part of the show, you can always email us at pixelplaypodcast. Send us your emails with your questions, your comments, your concerns. If you want to give me a list of 10 trophies for Trophy Stumper, I'm happy to do that online as well, or to read that on the air. If you want to be part of us, the conversation on our socials, you can find us by searching for Pixel Playcast on Twitter or Instagram. And yeah, like I said, join the Discord. Adam, that about does it for us on this episode. Is there anything you want to close off with before we sign off?
Books suck. That's all I got.
Yep, that's the message, kids. Books suck. No, books are awesome.
It's a game podcast. We should be getting them more towards games, not books. Come on.
I can't stand by that statement. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and we will see you guys next week. Bye for now.